Welcome to NFL Nexus. Winning the Super Bowl, that's the dream, right? It's the absolute peak. But what happens the morning after the parade? Well, for the Seattle Seahawks, that victory has created a brand new and maybe even tougher challenge, the dreaded salary cap. You've got a roster full of champions, and every single one of them deserves a pay raise. So, how do you decide who stays and who goes? Today, we're going to break down the massive, high-stakes financial puzzle that's facing Seattle's front office.
And hey, before we get into all the nitty-gritty numbers, if you're into these kinds of deep dives into what really goes on behind the scenes in the NFL, do us a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. And liking the video and dropping a comment with your take, it genuinely helps us keep making these explainers for you. It tells the algorithm we're doing something right.
So, I want you to just picture this for a second. You did it. You climbed the mountain. You're holding the Lombardi trophy. The confetti is still being swept up. But that sweet taste of victory, it comes with a massive and very immediate price tag. All of a sudden, every guy who made a game-saving tackle or a crucial block or that one big catch, they all want a raise. And you know what? They absolutely deserve it. This, right here, is the champion's curse. It's the monumental challenge of managing a roster where everyone's value, everyone's price just skyrocketed all at the exact same time.
Yeah, the harsh reality for the Seahawks is that their greatest triumph has put them in a real financial bind. They're staring at a long list of guys who are about to become free agents, players who are absolutely essential to that championship run. And then there's the big, bad, unforgiving math of the NFL salary cap. It's a hard limit on what a team can spend, period. And because of that, it is a mathematical impossibility to bring everybody back. Somebody has to go.
Okay, let's really break down what the front office is up against here. First off, they're dealing with 9 unrestricted free agents. Now, what that means is their contracts are up, and they are completely free to sign with any one of the other 31 teams in the league. No restrictions. And we are not talking about guys at the end of the bench here. We're talking about starters, key contributors, the heart and soul of the team. And because they're coming off a Super Bowl win, their value has never been higher. So the front office is feeling this immense pressure from the salary cap. They've got to make these incredibly tough decisions, weighing loyalty to the guys who got them there against the cold, hard logic of the budget. Because the goal isn't just to say, thanks for the memories. The goal is to build a team that can actually do it all over again and remain a contender. It is just a brutal, brutal balancing act.
So, to really get a handle on the Seahawks strategy, we're going to approach this just like their GM would. We're going to look at their free agents from the outside in, starting with what should be the easiest decisions. These are the players who, while they definitely contributed, are probably seen as the most expendable pieces of that championship puzzle.
This table, right here, it perfectly illustrates the cold, hard business of pro football. So let's look at the first 2 names on the list. Derek Young, a receiver, and Chaz Surratt, a linebacker. As you can see, their main contribution was on special teams. Surratt even chipped in with 11 tackles, which is nothing to sneeze at, but their roles are ultimately seen as replaceable. But then you get down to Riq Woolen, the cornerback. Now look at his line, just 7 starts, a reduced role, and that little note there, strained relationship. Whoa, that's a whole different and way more complicated situation. Let's really dig into the math on this, okay? For guys like Derek Young and Chaz Surratt, their value isn't on the stat sheet under touchdowns or sacks. No, their value is measured in covering punts, blocking on kick returns, and making those huge open field tackles on special teams. It's the gritty, unsung work that absolutely wins football games. But here's how the team sees it. A general manager is always asking, can I get this same production for less money? And for special teams aces, the answer is often a resounding yes. A hungry rookie, maybe a 6th or 7th round draft pick, can often come in and fill that same role for a tiny fraction of what a veteran makes. It's not flashy, but that's exactly how smart teams manage the financial margins of their roster to stay competitive. Now the Riq Woolen situation. This is way more nuanced. This isn't just about cost versus production. I mean, this is a talented corner who was a full-time starter for this very team not that long ago. But when you see a sharp drop in starts, all the way down to just 7, and you hear those whispers of a strained relationship, well, that usually points to something deeper. That's often insider speak for a disagreement over scheme or playing time, or maybe just a clash with the coaching philosophy. And at that point, a breakup really does become the best thing for everybody. It's a mutual parting of the ways. Seattle gets to free up cap space they desperately need, and Woolen gets a fresh start, a chance to be a main guy again for another team. It's just a classic case of a partnership that has run its course. Okay, now we're moving into that tricky middle tier. And this is where the decisions get so much harder. These aren't the clear-cut black and white cases anymore. We're talking about established, respected veterans who play really important, but maybe not starring roles. For these guys, it all boils down to one simple question.
Is the price right?
So first up in this group is offensive tackle Josh Jones. He's the classic swing tackle. So what does that mean? It means he's the guy who can reliably play both left tackle and right tackle. And in the absolutely brutal world of the NFL, where offensive line injuries are practically a guarantee, having a reliable, experienced guy like that who can step in on either side of the line without a huge drop-off in play, well, it's like having the best insurance policy money can buy. The fact that he appeared in 14 games and made 3 starts last year proves just how valuable he was. So the question isn't about his skill, it's about how much you're willing to pay for that insurance. He's not going to break the bank like a Pro Bowl starter, but his versatility definitely commands more than the league minimum.
You see, this negotiation with Jones, it's the classic dilemma teams have with veteran backups. The Seahawks know exactly what they have in him. There's no projection, no guesswork. But the front office, they operate with a very strict budget for every single position group. They have a number written down in a notebook somewhere for what a quality swing tackle is worth to their team. And if Jones's agent comes into that negotiation asking for even a little bit more than that predetermined number, the team will, without hesitation, walk away. They'll just take their chances on a cheaper veteran or a mid-round draft pick. It's a high-stakes game of financial chicken, and in these situations, the team almost always holds the power.
Okay, now this one is a truly fascinating case study, defensive end Boye Mafe. If you just look at his numbers from this past season in Seattle, his role was reduced, he only had 4 starts, 31 tackles, 2 sacks. You'd think he'd be a bargain to re-sign, right? But that is just not how the NFL works. This is the great paradox of free agency. You see, other teams aren't going to make an offer based on what he did for Seattle last year. They're going to make an offer based on what they believe he can become in their system. The open market still sees him as a premier talent, a guy who can get to the quarterback.
And this puts the Seahawks in a classic no-win situation. What do? Do you pay a player based on his rotational role within your system, or do you have to pay him based on what some other team with a totally different defensive scheme thinks he can be? Because someone out there is going to offer Boye Mafe a contract that pays him like he's a top-tier every-down pass rusher. And for Seattle, a team that used him situationally, matching that kind of offer would be just fiscally irresponsible. It's a really common and painful scenario where a player's value on the open market simply outgrows his actual role and value to his original team.
All right, we're moving up the ladder. We're now at the most agonizing, gut-wrenching decisions a front office has to make. This group is all about players who had massive breakout seasons in a contract year. I mean, it is the absolute perfect timing for them and just the most difficult timing imaginable for the team. They balled out, played their way into a gigantic payday, and now Seattle has to decide if they can even afford to write that check.
I mean, it's the ultimate dream scenario for an NFL player, and a potential nightmare for a general manager. We're talking about 3 key guys here, 2 defensive backs and a truly game-breaking return specialist who all decided that their contract year was the perfect time to have the best season of their lives. You just have to tip your cap. Their timing was absolutely impeccable.
So let's put some real numbers to these breakout performances. Kobe Bryant wasn't just a starter. He was a legitimate playmaker out there. He started 15 games, racked up 66 tackles, and nabbed a career-high 4 interceptions. Right there with him was Josh Jobe, who also started 15 games, providing that crucial stability at the other corner spot with 54 tackles. And then you have the wild card, Rashid Shaheed. Now remember, this guy wasn't even on the team to start the year. He was a brilliant trade deadline pickup. And while he definitely chipped in on offense, his biggest, most visible impact came on special teams. That single electrifying kickoff return for a touchdown in the playoffs, you better believe that one play could add millions of dollars to his next contract. His agent has that clip on a loop, ready to show every GM in the league.
This quote right here, I mean, it could apply to any one of those 3 guys, but it just perfectly captures the paradox of success in the NFL. These players performed so well for Seattle that they may have priced themselves right out of town. It's not that the Seahawks don't want them back, of course they do. The problem is that there will be other teams with more salary cap space, who saw what they did last season and are willing to pay that premium price that Seattle, juggling all these other big contracts, simply can't afford to match.
Let's focus on Shaheed for a second, because his case is so unique. He was acquired mid-season and provided an instant jolt of energy to the entire team. He was a great complementary piece on offense, sure, but his true market-setting value came as a complete game-changer in the return game. See, players who can dramatically impact the game on both offense and special teams are incredibly rare, and because of that, they're incredibly valuable. That dual-threat ability is what makes him one of the most exciting and sought-after weapons on the entire free agent market. His very short but very spectacular time in Seattle is about to make him a very, very rich man.
And that brings us to the top of the mountain. The number one priority, the single biggest, most difficult, and most franchise-altering decision of this entire offseason. It all revolves around one man, the hero of Super Bowl LX.
151. Just let that number sink in. That's how many yards Kenneth Walker III had in the Super Bowl. In the biggest game of the year, on the brightest possible stage, he put the entire team on his back and literally carried them to a championship. He wasn't just a part of the win, he was the engine, the Super Bowl MVP. Let's be clear, there is no championship parade, no trophy in Seattle without him.
He's the undisputed hero of the city. Kids are wearing his jersey everywhere. He's a legend. So why on God's green earth is there even a conversation about him playing for another team next season? Well, this is where Seattle's off-season puzzle becomes its most complex, its most fascinating. It's a direct clash between emotion and economics. This slide here, it lays out exactly why, on paper, re-signing Kenneth Walker should be an absolute no-brainer. He's the clear number one priority. Seattle's entire offensive identity, their whole philosophy, is built around a physical, run-first attack. And to make matters even worse, his primary backup, Zach Charbonnet, is trying to come back from a serious torn ACL. So losing Walker wouldn't just be about losing a star player. No, it would fundamentally shatter their entire offensive game plan and force a complete philosophical rethink of the whole organization.
So you might be asking, how can a team stop their superstar player from just walking away? Well, they have this special tool in their toolbox called the franchise tag. It's basically a one-year, fully guaranteed contract at a very high salary that forces a player to stay with the team for one more season. It stops him from hitting the open market. Now, given how important Walker is, you'd think using the tag would be an automatic, slam-dunk decision. But, according to reports, the Seahawks are not expected to use it. And that, right there, is the shocking twist that has suddenly opened the door for the Super Bowl MVP to actually walk away.
This slide right here breaks the entire conflict down to two simple numbers. On the left, you've got the cost of the franchise tag for a running back this year, a one-year hit of roughly $14.3 million against the salary cap. That is a massive number. But on the right, you have his projected market value. The experts estimate that a long-term deal for Walker would average closer to $9 million per year. Now look at that gap. That's a potential savings of over $5 million in precious cap space. $5 million that could be used to re-sign one of those defensive backs we just talked about.
So this whole thing, it comes down to a gigantic, high-stakes gamble by the Seattle front office. They are betting that the $14.3 million franchise tag number is an artificially high price, and that no other team in the league will actually be willing to pay him that much on a long-term deal. So their strategy is to pass on the tag, let him test the waters of free agency, and hope that the offers he gets are much closer to that $9 million a year number. Then and only then, they can swoop back in and try to match it. It is a massive, franchise-altering risk. If they're wrong, they lose their hero.
So this is where we're going to leave it. I'm putting you in the general manager's chair. You've got the hero of your Super Bowl run, the absolute heart and soul of your offense. What do? Do you play it safe, use the expensive franchise tag, and just deal with the salary cap headache later to guarantee he's back in the building? Or do you roll the dice, let him see what other offers are out there, and risk another team coming in and completely blowing up your entire offensive identity?
There is no easy answer here, folks. It is the ultimate battle between your head and your heart. So let us know what you would do. Drop your choice down in the comments below. Do you pay the hero whatever it takes, or do you trust your budget and risk losing him forever? Thanks so much for breaking down this incredibly complex offseason with us here on NFL Nexus. And hey, speaking of football, if you're looking for a perfect gift for the football fan in your life, we've actually created our own line of NFL-themed coloring books. They are awesome for kids, grandkids, or honestly any adult who just wants to chill out. You can find the link for them right down in the description, or you can just scan the QR code that's on your screen right now. We'll see you next time.